everybody, Ross from Miami's 11. Hope you're safe and well. Apologies, I'm in the toilet. Literally, I'm recording in the toilet today. We're having some housework done all over the bloody house. So you may see some unusual places for the next 2 weeks or so. But I hope everyone's safe and well. YouTube channel, please consider subscribing. I can't complain, Lee, because the lighting's fantastic. I haven't had to put any of my lights on, but hey, doesn't matter. Yeah, top drawer. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Make sure you hit the bell icon as well. Obviously, we've got the irons. I've got my badge. You can just see it. John sent me my Iron Supporting Food Banks badge today. So obviously, we've got all the charity work we're doing over the next, or for the rest of September, trying to raise £20,000. So make sure you check that out as well. Lots of game shows every Thursday. Today's guest, he's been a busy man. He's been talking about West Ham all evening, bless him. But hopefully this will be more relaxed, in a relaxed atmosphere. How you doing, Lee? How's things, man?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a bit of a tough day on top of work as well. So it's I'm really pleased and looking forward to having a quite light-hearted discussion, I hope, on all things West Ham.
Exactly, and that's the point of these things. Light-hearted, bit of nostalgia. We know it's not particularly nice at the moment, but these sort of half-hour sessions just give everyone a bit of sort of time to reflect and have a bit of a giggle about times gone by, not the current.
A little bit of nostalgia, I think, goes a long way. Certainly, as you're getting as old as I am, unfortunately, it's nice to look back.
You look back and you go, "Oh fuck, that's it now. I'm done." Jeez, my best times are behind me now. It's all downhill. How have you been over lockdown, Lee?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a tough gig. I've got some underlying medical conditions, which have made it a little bit difficult, which meant I've had to look after myself probably more than most. Working from home, with the kids. Hats off to the teachers, mate. Yeah, that's a really difficult job. So I've got a newfound respect for the teachers now. So I'm pleased that things are hopefully starting to get back to normality. I'm back in the office a couple of days a week, which is nice. Getting a little bit of familiarity going back on. I also coach a girls' football team as well, so we've started training, started playing games again. So it's just nice to see that. Yeah. It's just nice to see people just kicking the ball and talking about football and talking about the love of the game. And I think that's all I want to do. I don't want to be talking about everything else,
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's weird going back to the office, isn't it? Are you based in Central?
Yeah, well, I'm based in Southwark, and it's
oh, okay.
It's a strange, eerie sort of journey.
It is, isn't it? It is, yeah. I mean, I'm based in Farringdon, and I've literally been in the office like the last 2 weeks, for like the Tuesday or whatever, and it's really weird, isn't it? It's like I liken it to when I get on because I live in Longchurch, so I go Gidea Park. I liken it to when I used to go to West Ham at 9:30. I used to get to there about 9:30 in the morning for 3 o'clock kickoff. That's how early I have to get there. And it's as busy then as it is on a like Tuesday rush hour. It's mentally
like tumbleweeds across the platforms. It's bizarre. And you see the odd person walking towards you in a mask, and you have to take a second and oh no, that is the new normal.
Yeah, it is. And then you got like this little Sainsbury's by our office, and literally, I don't think they've stopped the sandwich orders, because literally the shelves are full of sandwiches, and about 1 o'clock you turn up and they're all yellow stickers because no fuck is there to buy them. So having a bargain, but
have you forgotten to walk in with the mask?
No, I'm a good boy.
I still keep forgetting.
No, I miss the mask sometimes on a petrol station. I think Lee's dropping in and out.
Can you hear me, mate?
Yeah, I can, man. It's dropping in about out a little bit. Don't worry.
No worries,
dropping in and out. You might have to. Yeah. Anyway, I was about to say the only thing I miss the masks on is sometimes when you're at a petrol station. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. At the petrol station, I missed the mask then, and I have to come back and get it. But I've always got one everywhere. I've got one on, got a West Ham mask everywhere in each car, so I'm all right. But you get used to it. Get used to it, don't you? I mean, like today, I had to take the dog to the vets, and we had to wait outside for half an hour. And they came and picked the vet up, and we had to do the sort of the what was it, the checkup sort of on WhatsApp, you know, on like FaceTime, you know, just to, and it's like but you just adjust, don't you? You just adjust. Same as football, isn't it? Football's had to adjust as well, and you know, I mean, the good thing is at least we're in the Premier League. What's been said and done, Lee, you know, we're in the Premier League this season, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
When you were watching the football during lockdown, Lee, were you and actually you'll be doing it now for at least the first few games this season, are you a crowd noise on or a crowd noise off type man?
On, 100%. I can't watch it without it. Don't seem right to me. Has to be on. Just make it feel a little bit normal, you know. But yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? It really is. Without, I just hearing the coaches shout and scream and hearing the players F and blind. It's not normal. I can't get my head around it. But yeah, definitely on.
Yeah, I know. I'm the same. So much so that I have to, when I'm at the ground, I actually put the game on just so I've got, or I put like one of the watch-alongs or one of the YouTube watch-alongs just to get something, because it's just, it's like, you know, I know people talk about the atmosphere and stuff, but literally it's you can hear journalists typing. That's how quiet it is. It's really weird. Really weird, but it's good fun. It's good fun. And obviously, all the you know, Gonzo, but Tom and Charlie and IG United and West Ham Way, they all do the watch-alongs, and they're good fun. They just keep you entertained, and keep them on the background. It's almost like I've got and like, particularly people like Nigel Card and people, you know, it's almost like I've got an old couple behind me moaning about the West Ham team, just like the old days, just like the old days. So, Lee, so the first question I always ask everyone is, why West Ham? You got the shirt on. We know you've been talking about West Ham all afternoon and all evening. What's your story? Why are you a West Ham fan?
I think for me, I grew up in Forest Gate. My mum's side of the family are all West Ham.
Oh, looks like I might have lost Lee, unfortunately. That's a shame. We'll get Lee back. We'll get Lee back in. Anyway, let me just message Lee, tell him I can't hear him. Oh, well, fun and games. You've frozen, mate. Oh, hang on. He's back. It's
a bloody Wi-Fi, I think. Russ, sorry, mate.
So don't be silly, man. Don't be silly. Sometimes these things happen, and you just like, you get a good bit for a while, Wi-Fi, don't you? And then you sort of, and then you have sort of like blips. All we got to so far, Lee, was you were born in Forest Gate. That was where the story ended for the watchers so far.
Oh, nightmare. If you can still hear me, so my mum's side of the family are all West Ham. They're an old traditional East End family. My dad's side isn't. My dad's the Turkish Cypriot side of the family, all from North London and South London. So half of them support Tottenham, half of them. So I thought I'd go against all that and definitely support the mum's side of the family, West Ham. And my nan lived in Plaistow, down in Stirling Road, just off the old Plaistow Library. And when I was a kid growing up, I always used to go to my nan's on a Saturday, and you'd always get all the West Ham fans coming out from the pubs, the Black Lion and the Vic Tavern, all coming out of there down past the old Sampson Street Hospital, past my nan's house. And I always used to want to be part of that. And I remember going in my nan's garden, and you could always hear the crowd, even though it's probably a mile away, you could hear the crowd singing. And I'm talking about early mid-80s, early 90s, when I was 8, 9, 10, and you could always hear the crowd singing Bubbles just before the game. And do you know what? I just loved it. There was a couple of fellas at school as well that were West Ham, but predominantly at school, everyone was Liverpool. Absolutely everyone, apart from a couple. And I thought, you know what? Just have a little bit of solidarity with the minority back then, and go with West Ham. And that's really what it was. You know what I mean? From the couple of me pals and me nan and me mum's side of the family generally. I mean, that's why I supported West Ham, and yeah, I'm pleased I have in a strange sort of way.
Yeah, in a strange sort of way. Yeah, and I was talking to someone the other day actually, and they were talking about West Ham and their kids and how he sort of passed on the illness, the condition to him, and he was wobbling. He was the kid was wobbling a little bit, you know, whether he wanted to go and support Liverpool or something, and basically, you know, he stuck with West Ham, and it's character building, isn't it? It's character building being a West Ham fan.
It's tough trying to teach your kids that it ain't all about winning, and I know to a lot of them it is. You try and instill a little bit of confidence in that things do get better, and when you do, actually, when you appreciate it more, because it don't happen that often. Yeah, and I think you're right. It's character building, fighting against adversity. I think a little bit. I think it just builds up that sort of notion that, you know what, it ain't always rosy in the garden, but when it is, it's a bloody bright sunny day. You know,
it's so true. We live for those sort of, you know, 3 or 4 times a season where the team turns up. Do you know what I mean? It's just, but we don't know when it's going to happen. It could happen any game, and that's the beauty.
Imagine being Man United or Liverpool just winning week after week. It becomes boring, doesn't it? Where's the fun in that?
Yeah, exactly. Where's the fun in losing 3-0 away to Burnley? You know, but it's just, but it's true though, isn't it? I think it's true.
Yeah.
Someone said to me the other day, I wouldn't want to win the Premier League, and I thought, yeah, part of me, yeah, I agree, but then part of me is like, it's just like, I just think that's why West Ham fans are what they like, and you know, why we have this sort of solidarity, community spirit of the Blitz,
and we're not greedy either. We would just be happy with one trophy in our lifetime, not one every season. I just want to see us lift a cup that I can remember in my lifetime. I'll be happy with that. I could be a happy man.
Yeah, no, I'd be the same. I'd be the same. And who knows? It could be our year this year, Lee. It could be our year.
You never know, mate. You never know.
You never know.
Take the cup seriously, boys, and we'll be all right.
That's the trouble, isn't it? That's the trouble. I mean, I want them to just have a go at the League Cup, because I think the trouble is, but the FA Cup comes around just as everyone's sorted their season out, innit? So it's sort of set till January time. You can have a rough idea, unless it's catastrophe, you're going down. You know, you can have a rough idea if you're in the mix. Obviously, we've got, you know, Charlton on the Tuesday after the Newcastle game. So it's 2 games into the season, the second game that you start, and obviously then we're at home the next round if you beat them. And it's just, I just think that's why, you know, you get so many teams get knocked out, because obviously the Man Cities always end up winning because they put their second team out, and their second team is mid-table Premier League team. Do you know what I mean?
And for me, do you know, it's a cup we've never won, and it's been a bit of a bloody unlucky cup for us over the years. And I would just love to just see it on our honours list, like a different trophy that we've won, but if it ever happens. But yeah, definitely a League Cup for me, probably over the FA Cup.
Yeah, no, I'd take that, because I think the FA Cup's just lost the romance of it at the moment. It's, you know, obviously the League Cup's always been the League Cup, and obviously the fact that, you know, FA Cup, the final's always like half-5 on a Saturday. You know, it's just like, that's the same as the League Cup now, and it is. But it just seems you've got more chance with the League Cup now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. You've got to beat Charlton first. This will go out before the Charlton game. So we can. Who knows? That's what I love about West Ham. Just don't know what team's going to turn up. Do you remember your first game, Lee? Do you remember your first game?
Yeah, well, I remember getting taken to Watford in '84, but I don't remember. I remember going, but I don't remember nothing about the game. But the game after that, which was some time after, 5 years later in '89, I think it was, against Middlesbrough. And I think we scored a couple of goals. I think we won the game. I remember Julian Dix scoring a penalty and Georgie Parrish getting a goal. So that was really the one that I remember, way up high in the old West Stand, right on them hard wooden seats. That was awful back in the day. But my dad took me, and I've been on him for ages. Please, Dad, take me to the game. And I just think I wore him away to the point where he said, all right, I'll bloody get you some tickets. And he took me. And I couldn't have been no more than probably 10 or 11 years of age. But I just remember being so far back in these seats and just seeing the ground. It just looked huge. And having splinters in my arse from them bloody arse seats.
They were bloody awful MCs, weren't they? They were
Well,
bloody awful. Oh yeah, but I mean that's the thing, and as I say, once you go, it's like, we're like going to West Ham's a bit like Pringles. Once you start, you can't stop, can you? You just keep, and and it's someone likened it to an abusive relationship. In that you go back, you come back, they kick you in the teeth, you come back, you cook them dinner, you buy the shirt, you buy the season ticket, and you think he's going to change, and then they kick you in the teeth again. It's just like, it's so true, but we're just a glutton for punishment.
There's a couple of ways you can support a club. You can either just pop along every now and again and do it half-hearted, or you can go full steam ahead, and to the point where, certainly in my case, I find the club, ever since I was a kid, completely consuming, to the point I want to know absolutely everything going on, whether it's the youth team or whatever. I've been to hundreds of games, not even first team games, reserves, under 18s, when you could go and get a little bit closer to the players. Back in the day down at Chad Relief, we'd always pop down there, try and get your autographs and whatever else. But yeah, I just find it completely indoctrinating, completely consuming, to the point of obsession, and where defeat, even at this age, doesn't get any easier. Do you know what? If lucky I ain't got it, because I probably would have kicked his bloody legs off by now, because the amount of times we lose, I get the ump.
Well, the amount of times I've series unlinked match of the day in the last sort of 4 or 5 years on my Skybox, or it comes up, oh, my wife's, match of the day's on. Do you want to watch it? No. Why?
No.
Oh, you lost, didn't you? Yeah. You just watch Desperate Housewives instead. I'm bothered, but yeah. But that's it. And then you have a shit day. We might have lost, and then you have a sort of a mope about it. You ignore match of the day. You ignore sort of any sort of Sunday coverage or anything like that. Monday morning, right, who we got on Saturday? It's like, we got all start again, and that's what it's like reset. It's like you reset and start again.
Yeah, we've invested far too much time, too many tears, and too much blood and sweat to walk away from this club. This is our club, and we'll follow it to the ends of the earth. I remember back in the day. Do you remember away tickets? Now kids will never understand this now when applying for tickets. I remember having to go and line up all the way down Green Street to get an away ticket. Tottenham away used to be the worst. We'd go at 9 o'clock at night to line up the following morning in hope you get a ticket, and there was always a chance you still might not get one. We'd be kicking a ball in the road down at Green Street. We'd send someone down to cap as soon as it opened. So it's easier just to stick with it than to walk away. There's too much blood, sweat, and tears to walk away, mate.
Yeah, that's a good shout, man. It's a good shout, Lee. Yeah, no, it's true, very, very true. And it's one of those things that just gets. And I love the fact, when you talk to people, and like particularly on this channel, and they've passed, as I said, passed the sort of the illness onto their kids, and it's like, my daughter hasn't got a fucking clue, bless her. She hasn't got a chance. Hasn't got a chance. She was born, or her due date was the playoff final against Blackpool. So and I had a really good ticket, so obviously I was there. I was front row. I was front row. Like where Vastey scored. I was bang in the middle. I had a ticket. So bless her, she came a couple of days later. But she hasn't got a clue. But she hasn't got a chance at all. And I never had a chance. And
no choice. Got no choice.
Got no choice, but that's the way it should be. Right, let's move on to your Hammers 11, Lee. So basically, it's really, really simple. The only rule is you have to be alive to have seen them play. Not necessarily see, and I'll say again, not necessarily see live, because obviously that sort of prohibits a lot of people who haven't been to London Stadium or else above, but being alive to see play. So obviously, I can't put Bobby Moore in or Trevor Brook in. I could put in Gary Breen and Hayden Mullins. Seems a fair swap. So that's what we do. So for you, let me just get my banners ready. So Lee, and it can be whatever you want. It doesn't have to be the best players or favourite players. It can be the worst players. It doesn't really matter. Any players you want to talk about. So we'll start off in goal. Who have we got in goal, Lee?
We've got the legend, Ludek. We've got Ludo Miklosko. For me, he was probably the first goalkeeper that I had an affinity with growing up. And you know, when he signed for us, I think it was Banniker Strava, I think he came from. And I just remember reading the papers about this club, Banniker Strava, selling us this goalkeeper. And no one knew who he was, never heard of the club before. And I think he made his debut against Swindon. It might have been 1990, something like that. And he had an absolute blinder, and he just come from nowhere. And he was such an imposing goalkeeper, huge, but mild mannered, incredibly mild mannered, well respectful. And I remember when we used to have the old Junior Hammers Christmas parties back in the old West End, talking late 80s, early 90s. Ludo always used to come to the Christmas parties and have photos taken with the kids. And I've still got a photo to this day of me with him and his arm over me. And I remember when he got up, I was looking up like that. The geezer was absolutely huge, but he was so gentle, so kind, and spoke from what he could speak of English back then. It was just such a nice fella. And yeah, for me, I just think he's been a terrific goalkeeper over the years. And we've had some good keepers, to be fair.
Yeah,
but I don't think in my time of watching West Ham, I don't think there's been many better. Definitely not consistently over that period of time.
Yeah. Oh well, I remember the Junior Hammer Christmas parties and the birthday parties as well. I remember, you know, you could have a birthday party in the little school hall next door, and that's when I met my first ever first team player, because you know a first team player would turn up to sort of give you the cake, and it was Pete Butler. And ever since, I've had this affinity for Pete Butler. But yeah, no, Ludo, lovely bloke, and obviously you talk to a lot of people like yourselves, and you know, all the Scandinavian Hammers talk really highly of him because the amount of time they used to give them, and just a beautiful man, really gentle giant. Changed the way West Ham goalkeepers were.
Kick a ball for miles, but yeah,
he kicked it really weird though as well. You know, if you look at it again, he sort of
put his arms across, then sort of kicked it on the side. Bizarre.
But and it was sort of, I mean, obviously we were so used to having people like Phil Parkes, who was just like a unit, you know, and then McClosso came along, who was obviously more athletic, more like an athletic, still a big lad, but more athletic than Parksy. And then, as you said, from then on, we've been all goalkeeper, apart from about 6 months last season. Goalkeeper has been all right for us as a position. It's one area that people don't tend to struggle with their 11s. It tends to be sort of right. So we'll put Ludo in. Lee, you go for the team as you want, man. You go for the team as you want.
Cool. So I'm going to go right back, and I think this is probably one of the most underrated footballers in West Ham's recent history, and I'm going to go for Timmy Breaker. Just such a workhorse, and he always would be a 6, 7 out of 10 every week. He'd give you everything, and he had that sort of strange sort of run. His head would go down, but his arms would come up. And the only thing I can sort of resemble it to is like the old Terminator. Do you remember when?
Yes, that's a good shout.
And he'd just get his head down, and he'd whip these absolutely wicked crosses in. He used to set up quite a few goals. And I remember going to Everton, and I can't think what year it was. Might be 93. And I think he got the winner. I think it might be New Year's Day. It got a header, and he had an absolute stormer that day. But in terms of consistency, the fella just used to be a 7 out of 10 absolutely every week. And yeah, just I had a bit of an affinity for him.
Yeah, definitely.
So my number 2.
They called him the machine, didn't they? They called him the machine, like it was his nickname, Machine. When we interviewed like Mad Dog and stuff like that, they'd all call him the Machine. Right? We had Tim on the channel as well, and I was one of those people who pretty appreciate him when I was watching him play, because probably about 92, 93, I was probably about 12, something like that. And it's not about the prominent, how consistent the right back is. It's who's scoring the goals and who's the tricky players and stuff. But watching back, and obviously, you know, in lockdown, loads of the sort of end of season review things that Robert Banks has been putting up. It was mental. And I actually told him that. I said, Tim, I must apologise. I never rated you when you were playing because I was only a kid, and now I do. He's like, oh, thanks. You know, what can you do? You know, what can you say?
If you talk to a lot of West Ham fans, though, that's a lot of people don't ever talk about him or hold him in probably the esteem he deserves. But yeah, definitely a fantastic
Take a long time for
right back.
us. Yeah, definitely. Go on, man. You carry on. You carry on.
So, me left back, I think there's only one choice there, mate. And I think if anyone of our generation would find it really difficult to choose anyone else, and that's JD Julian Dix, just an absolute legend. And I don't think people appreciated how good he was until he left us the first time around to Liverpool. And you know what? When he come back to us for the second time, he was an even better player, in my opinion. I think he was a little bit more clever on the ball. He had calmed down to a certain extent. Obviously, I know we had the problems at Chelsea with Spencer and whatever else, but do you know what? An incredibly underrated player, and people don't appreciate how good he was on the ball. He was a fantastic defender, but he could actually play. He could hit balls 50, 60, 70 yards to people's feet, and but he was choosing a player who you'd want to play, and you could choose the DNA of that player. Pretty much all the characteristics would be from Julian Dix. Hard work, bit of ferocity. He just tough in a tackle, but we can actually play. And it's not really something I really want to talk about. But if you look at him now, and you look at his legs are absolutely ruined, and they're ruined because of the effort he put in for West Ham. I remember when he was coaching with Slav, he done a little bit of warming up, and he can barely walk, and I find it such a shame. But he's in that state because he put everything in to his playing career, and his playing career was predominantly with us. And do you know what? I will forever be indebted to him for everything he gave us whilst he was with us, and just such a terrific player. And you don't see players like that anymore. You really don't.
No, you don't. You don't see, and particularly at fullback, you don't see players who can galvanise a team, galvanise a supporter base from left back. It's not that, you think nowadays Aaron Cresswell would not, or Arthur Masuaku would not get us going like Julian Dix would do. Do you know what I mean? And it's no disrespect to them, but it's just Julian's passion, and he's just and I think outside of West Ham, he was always seen as a thug. Inside West Ham, any fan knew what a good player he was, knew what a baller, knew technically how fantastic his left foot was. I totally agree. When he came back, he was, I'd say, maybe because obviously he was sort of still only playing on one foot, really, but he had to be more sort of. He still had that fire, and that's what we love. And obviously he had the skinhead, and he was just, I just love the fact with Julian that he looked like he would, if he was playing at Hackney Marshes, whatever, and he was playing, he looked like he would be playing in a Sunday League team. Do you know what I mean? He had the shaven head, he had the ripped shirt, he had the socks rolled down, but then he just had this God-given talent. And I'm really happy that obviously, him and Slav did the job for West Brom, because, obviously, and Julian's a dad again as well.
Yeah.
He's got a little boy now, and a little girl, rather, another little girl. And he's only 53, but
No. Even though he's still got a career in the game, he's still heavily focused towards his family. He's a family man.
Exactly.
He still loves West Ham no matter what. Do you know what? I don't think anyone can ever take that away from him.
No.
I'm quite proud to say I've seen him play quite a considerable amount of times, and I don't think we'll ever see a left back in the same mould as him, or to the ability that he had. Definitely not.
No, definitely not. Okay, Julian's in.
Definitely.
Crack on.
Centre halves. My first centre half, I'm going to go for Alvin. I see him at the tail end of his career, but even at the tail end of his career, he was still such a commanding, authoritative figure that led by example. You could probably search on Google now and pull up photographs of Alvin, and probably half of them will be blood pouring down his head. You know what I mean? Cuts and bruises all over, because he used to stick his head in and he didn't care. And to play that amount of games he did for us, I think that's testament to what such a fantastic player he was. And to come from so far away, and to have the affinity that he had with the club and still has as an adopted East Ender, I think that's just fantastic. And I just love him. I love everything he stands for. just swashbuckling, wasn't he? Just didn't he'd stick his head absolutely anywhere. And I remember right towards the end of his career, we played Oldham in the Premier League when Oldham was there. Can't remember what year it was, and I think we won 2-0 or whatever. And I think he got a goal that day, and just it meant so much to him that he knew that even though he was coming towards the end of his career, it still meant a lot to him that he was still able to play well and got the odd goal. But yeah, fantastic, absolutely fantastic player.
Yeah, he was, and you're right. He's this adopted Cockney status, that he's he still lives around the area, still lives near me, and just a lovely bloke. He's just just West Ham through and through. He talks about West Ham when he's on radio. Still has an affection for the club, and 20 years, wasn't it? 20 years he played for us, and it's like, mental, absolutely incredible. Yeah, exactly. It's not many of them around. Not many of them around. So
and that moment with his boy as well at Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? That just, we wanted it as much for his boy as we wanted it for Alvin. Do you know what I mean? It was just such a lovely moment. And I think people will be talking about that moment for years. I mean, that game will be ingrained in our recent history in terms of what it meant for the club. And when some clubs, they talk about winning trophies and they win, it's little things like that we remember because it means a lot to us. It represents what we are as West Ham, doesn't it? We're family people. We're true to our roots and our heritage. And do you know what I mean? And I think that was an absolutely beautiful moment.
It was poetic, wasn't it? It was a real poetic moment because you knew what it meant, not only for him as a father, but him as a fan as well. I think that's what it was special about, because it was on both sides. And obviously David's a big fan as well, and just lovely, just really nice. In the modern day era, to have some sort of that sort of connection with a club is really special. Right, okay, Alvin's in. Who else is going to be centre half then?
My centre half, I'm going to have to go to Rio. Rio, you know what? I think he's, in terms of his playing ability, even at that young age when he made the West Ham breakthrough, I just think he was second to none. And unlike any other centre half of that generation around that sort of time, in terms of the way he could bring the ball down and play it from the back and drop his shoulder and get past people, was just a fantastic ability, and it was so nice to see. And he's probably one of the only players in recent history that I was absolutely gutted when he left. I think there's only a couple of other players since then that I was really genuinely upset when they left, and he was certainly one of them. And I know it probably paved the way for the Rio stand, but absolutely gutted when he left. But I remember when you were, and I spoke about earlier, when you could go to Chad Relief and you could go and get autographs. And I used to write the odd interview for Overland the Sea back in the day, and I remember speaking to Rio, and he come across so cocky, so arrogant back then. But do you know what? That's probably one of the things that drove him on, that cockiness, that arrogance. And I think channeled in the right way, and it probably was. It's probably one of the main things that have driven him forward to be the success that he was. Yeah. But absolutely fantastic ability.
Yeah, great player. And as you said, and it's funny, like with that whole crop of players that came and went, unfortunately, went too soon. Rio's one of those players I still see as a West Ham boy. It's really funny. Still see him as West Ham, and even when he was playing for Man United or England or doing his TV work, I still think like he's one of us. We're like, I don't see that with Lampard or or Glenn Johnson, but for Rio, I just still see him as one of ours. Maybe because of the connect, maybe because of Anton as well, and there's the Ferdinand connection with obviously Les and stuff playing for us as well. So, but no, definitely top bloke. One day I'll get him on one day. Right, okay. So Rio's in midfield. Let's go into midfield. Go on then, Lee. You go for it.
Right. Man. So I'm gonna choose a player now. You briefly touched upon it, and one of my all-time heroes, dare I say it, for the couple of seasons it was with us, Peter Butler. Oh. Absolutely fantastic workhorse. One of the most underrated centre midfielders we have ever had. And no one ever talks about Peter Butler, ever. But if they was around for a couple of seasons with us, and the tackles he won, the ability he had on the ball to get the play transitioning from defence to midfield and then upfield, he just used to break up everything, and he used to just sit back and just allow the play just to carry on. He would do his job, but he would do it well. And
Love him.
absolutely fantastic.
Love him. Absolutely love the man. Yeah, and he's a beautiful man now. Beautiful man. You know,
he's an
doing
obscure
this
man, Russ, isn't he? When you think
I love, honestly,
the game.
Incredible. You know, when I interviewed him, it was in his house in Liberia, on George Weir's estate.
Yeah.
And you know, because I didn't realize he was over there. I thought he was back home in Yorkshire or whatever. And he sort of messaged me, and I said, "Oh," he said, "Yeah, I'll make sure I've plugged the laptop on just in case we have like a power cut." And I was thinking, oh, maybe because he's in like some rural farmhouse in Yorkshire Dales or something like that. No, it's because he's in Liberia, and it just goes like that. The power does. And
his coaching career, managerial career, has just taken him to some far-flung places. Absolutely brilliant. But if he wrote a book, that would be a book I'd love to read.
Some of the stories we spoke about, like his time at Botswana, and he was doing like player assessment type things. But what they would do is they wouldn't sort of go to, obviously never any real professional leagues. They were going to like prisons and stuff, and he'd go to prisons with a bag of balls, and they'd be watching prison games and stuff. And that was a good player. And yeah, fucking hell, you know what I mean? It's just like mental. Lovely man, and it's funny because you know how good a player is when he's clearly got the respect of his peers. And we've interviewed like people around his era, like Mad Dog and Kevin Keane and Bish and people like that. They all put Butler in their team, all put him in because of what he did. It's the modern day equivalent. It's like Hayden Mullins. They all they all put, because he's that's a water carrier type position. But he was great, and Mad Dog says his great stories. Obviously, he came from Southend. Obviously, he used to get a lift in with Steve Jones because he was in Basildon, and he turned up the first day, and Mad Dog was like, "Who's this fucker?" I think he called him a rude word, actually. He didn't call him fucker. He called him something rude. He's turned up. He's turned up with high-tech boots, like real cheap high-techs. He's like, "Who the fuck does this guy think he is?" And after about 5 minutes, they all knew who he was because they were proper, crunching tackles. And massive fan of Pete Butler, massive fan. As I said, the first player I ever met at West Ham Junior Hammers birthday party. So there we go. Butler's in. Who's next, Lee?
Right, I'm gonna do a bit of a naughty one here, mate. So apologies. Now I know he normally would play out on the left-hand side, but because I wanna get another player in. I'm gonna put Dimitri Payet as a centre midfielder and playing for now. Probably the most talented player that I've probably ever seen. Would not necessarily the best player, but probably the most talented player I've ever seen in terms of ability of what he could do with football, was just second to none. And I think that season and the bit that he had with us, that farewell bowling season, just the memories, I'll take them to the grave. Just some of the stuff he used to do in that football was just terrific, and I'm thankful I got to see it. I just the ability that he had, and I think the way that he left, and it just broke people's hearts because he was on the path to having that godlike status for generations. Maybe 10, 15 years down the line, people won't talk about him because of the way he's left. But he's not only done it to us, he's done it to other people. And do you know what? He'll have loads of money when he retires, but will he have the affiliation and the affection of clubs for where he's played? And I don't think he will. And that's a shame, because that God-given ability that he had, certainly that season that he was with us, it should have put him in a different stratosphere in terms of the way the fans adorn their players. And what ability, Russ. He just fantastic.
I totally echo what you said in terms of technically the best player, not the best player, but technically the best player at West. I've ever seen play, and I think, in all honesty, it's probably technically the best player that we'll ever see, because I don't think you don't know what's going to happen, but I'd be very surprised if I have a Ballon d'Or nominated player in my team in my lifetime at West Ham. You might do. You never know. Deck might stay for us, and who knows? But he was just such a special player, and he was a West Ham, and he came at the right time, didn't he? He came when we needed that maverick. We always adore these sort of mercurial players, whether it was Di Canio or Tevez or Joe Cole or someone like that, and we didn't have one for a few years, and he came along in the last season at the Bowling and just made it the season it was. Without him, we would not have had that season.
It was sort of written in the stars, wasn't it?
Perfectly was.
Yeah.
You had the right manager as well.
But there you go.
Yeah, I mean, but as you said, he joined us in the same way he left us, and we've had other players, and that sort of mercurial, crazy, but immensely talented player. They have that tempestuous side where they'll throw their toys out, and Arnautovic, he's the same. Maybe someone in your front line as well. We only got that person because he pushed over a referee. And it's like, what I mean. So it's just the way. Those type of players are, which is a shame. But you sort of live with that, knowing that's going to happen. All right, we'll put Pyatt in the Pyatt Butler Central Partnership. I think that would be tasty. Right, who's next?
Out on the left, and the reason why I dropped Pyatt into midfield is for one of my first ever favourite players back in the day, and one I tried to emulate on as a kid, is Stuart Slater. The talent that kid had was wonderful, but he didn't fulfil his potential for whatever reason. But for a couple of seasons, he was such a terrific footballer. He used to have a strange way that he used to run. He used to sort of perch himself off his left foot and sort of hop as he's running and taking on players, and he'd drop his shoulder and get round people really easily. And he should have gone on to do a hell of a lot more than he did in the game. Not to say he had a bad career, but he should have done more, in my opinion. And he was just another one of those ones that I remember growing up as a kid. And again, I luckily I got to meet him at one of the West Ham dues when I was a kid, and he was such a lovely fella. One of them ones that was well spoken. He was mindful of himself. He didn't have any ego, and do you know what? He was one of them sort of people as a kid you sort of looked up to, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, he'd start for me out on the left, I think, Russ, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, and it's true. And people who pick Slate say exactly the same thing. Just one of those what ifs. Do you know what I mean? He went to Celtic too soon, and didn't really, tear up trees at Celtic, and it was a shame it happened like that. But as you said, for those sort of couple of seasons, he was brilliant for us. We'll hopefully get him on soon, so that'd be quite interesting to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
Right, Slate is in. Who's next, man?
So out on the right hand side, I'm going to go with Trevor Sinclair. I think when we picked Trevor from QPR, I think he was having probably not the best of times there, and I think his career was going a little bit stale.
Yeah.
And he come to us and he absolutely hit the ground running. I think he scored a brace on his debut at home to Everton, and he had a fantastic game. And he was so consistent for his career with West Ham, and I think he got in the England squad, went to World Cup, I think he did, on the back of his performances for West Ham. And he was just, again, he was one of them people that, not necessarily a 7 out of 10, but he would probably give you an 8 out of 10 performance every game. He'd score, he'd assist, and he'd work hard. And he was one of them players, a little bit like Antonio, where he could drop out and play right wing back if you needed to. He'd make the tackles. He'd start things off from midfield. And again, he's probably one of those ones that was really underrated in terms of ability. And maybe West Ham fans probably don't talk about him as much as they probably should do, because for however many seasons he was with us, he was incredibly consistent and he'd done a hell of a lot for us. Fantastic footballer, really fantastic.
He was brilliant. We interviewed him over last week, which was incredible. And by his own admission, he was the QPR. He was coming, he wasn't really enjoying it. I think Jerry Francis had left, and he was a big influence on him. I think that was right what he said. To be honest, I was in awe of talking to him, to be perfectly honest, because he's like, I'm right. He's one of my 11, so I was like, so same as Julian, but so I was a proper fanboy like with him, but. An absolutely incredible man. Honestly, he was lovely. We had a great chat. He was really open. He told some stories he probably shouldn't have told. And you know what? He just like you could feel, and actually everyone I've interviewed, even people like Nigel Reo-Coker, even Nige, bless him, they all talk so highly of the club and how much they love the club and love the fans. And with Trevor, it was almost like coming through the screen of how much he enjoyed talking about the time he had at West Ham, because it resurrected his career. You're right. He was like he had a great time at QPR. Then he was dropping off. Some of his mates had left as well. And West Ham came in. I mean, we talk about players going for cheap in today's modern day. We bought Trevor Sinclair for a combined fee of £2.7 million. 2.3 cash plus Dowie and Roland. So
what would he be worth now in today's market?
Wow. It's like Alan Devonshire. It's like Alan Devonshire, £5,000. Incredible. Yeah, it's so expensive. Harry did a good deal there, as he always used to. But no, top man, and absolutely. Nothing but good words to say about Sir Trev, because he was just lovely, and obviously gracious enough to spend some time with us to talk about his time at West Ham, which was lovely. Right, Sinks is in up front. We're going up front now, Lee.
Yeah, we're going to go 2 up top. So my first player is going to be a living legend at West Ham, Tony Cottee. Again, he was another one of them players back in the day. He was just West Ham through and through, and as a kid, you looked up to him and you just wanted to emulate him. And I remember always trying to pretend to be Tony Cottee in the Forest Gate School dry play back in the day, and just knocking them goals into 2 yards or trying to, and just pretending to be him. And I just loved his attitude, and his love for the club really shone through back in the day. And it was another one when he left to go to Everton. We was gutted, and I remember hearing it on what was it now? Capital Gold. I remember that.
Probably.
The news broke on Capital Gold. We was listening to that he was going to Everton, and I was absolutely gutted. There was probably tears in my eyes back in the day, but chuffed when he come back. And I think he was terrific when he returned for us, and really helped us out in that early Premiership days. And you don't get many players that are capable of scoring goals the way he done, if that makes sense. He knew where to be. He's got that typical striker's knack, being in the right place at the right time, and always managed to find space in the box and drop off the shoulder of the defender, and always found himself with a ball, and he had that terrific ability to put the ball in the back of the net. And I think he'll go down as a living legend at West Ham, and quite rightly so. Just terrific goal scoring ability, but more importantly, a terrific fella. And I think he's got West Ham in his blood, and that's really important for us.
Totally, and there's something about a fan who plays for his boyhood club, in the same way that Mark plays, and people like that, and it just makes so much difference, because as a fan that he's going to give it his all. Do you know what I mean? He's going to leave everything on, and when he scores, it'll be extra special because he's a West Ham fan, and it's professional, but there's personal reasons as well. And he's great, and he was, again, we've been really lucky. We had him on the channel, and he spoke really openly about leaving, and how obviously first time he came back he got booed, and there was not even a inkling that he would ever want to come back to West Ham. And then unfortunately, obviously, Bobby died, and then he played in that invitational match, and he got a really good reception. And then the cogs started turning. So then he said anytime it was back on the agenda, he wanted to be back, and felt like he had unfinished business. And just a great man, lovely fella.
Do you know what? I feel like with Declan Rice, it's probably going to be a very similar story now. Declan will probably move on to better his career at some point, and quite rightly so. I think he's going to have to go at some point, sadly enough.
Yeah.
But hopefully he'll do it in the right way, and he'll always hold the club in fond esteem and come back to us. Hopefully, probably the tail end of his career and do bits for us, But
yeah,
yeah, I
same
suppose
as Joe Cole did the same, didn't he? Joe
yeah,
Cole, I'm trying to get someone to do an 11 of people who have come back, returned to sender 11, because we must have quite a few players like Julian and James Collins and people who've left and come back. Kevin Nolan technically, came back as an assistant manager in Slav, but I think I agree. I think we know Dec's going to go sometime. It will be very, 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 very unusual for him not to. I still have this glimmer of hope. And again, it's the claret tinted glasses, but the influence of Mark Noble on Declan Rice, and he knows he's not stupid, and Mark, not saying Mark's got a pass for every game, but he has to really, really have a shit game for people to get on his back. Do you know what I mean? And there's something about that, he's going to go, if he goes to Chelsea or whatever, he's going to literally go into the Lions Den, and also I just think he'll be, and I think if he went to Chelsea, honestly, I just think he'll be wasted. I really do, because I just think Frank will put him centre back, and I've said on the channel, you can go and buy, exactly, you can go and buy a decent centre back, Tchaikovsky, Tchaikovsky he was a composer, but the guy from Burnley, or Nathan Aki for 40 million, or Koulibaly. You can go and buy a decent centre back for 30 million pounds max. The role Declan Rice plays is so unusual that Man City have spent God knows how many millions buying people to try and replace Fernandinho, and they can't do it.
And he's at that level. He is, Russ. I think he's definitely at that level. 100%.
Totally at that level. And I just think he's got this new facet of a game with Souček playing now. Souček's doing the more donkey work now, and Dec can come forward a lot more, and he's good on the ball. We know he's good on the ball, and he's having a
frustrated with Russ. When people who don't support our team and they watch him for England, but they don't understand football. They don't understand the role that he's given to do. He's not being asked to be a spectacular box-to-box midfielder. No. Gareth Southgate asks him to be the stalwart in midfield and just sit there and hold and break up play and keep things simple. And do you know what? It takes a very talented player to be able to do that and keep things simple and look simple. And I don't think people appreciate what a good player he is and how difficult a job he does for England.
No, totally. The Peter Butler of the England team. That's basically he's styling his game on butts. And but I totally agree. I just think he's a fantastic asset, and I just think it'd be a loss to England and to the Premier League. I mean, I've been funny. One of only 4 people ever to have played every minute of every Premier League game ever.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think last year. So he played every minute of every game, and I think there's only been 4 people ever in Premier League history to have done that, which is incredible. And I just think he's brilliant. I just love him. Right, so back to Tony's in. Tony's in. Who's the last piece of this Lee pie?
I'm sure that he's probably someone that everyone you speak to is probably put in a team, and I can't be any different. Yeah. It's Paolo Di Canio, and I think for me, probably the most wonderful player I've ever seen, and some of the stuff he used to do with a football I'd never seen before. And I grew up watching, certainly around probably your generation as well, Russ. We've seen people like Cantona and Ginola and Gascoigne and all very good players, and I would definitely put Paolo up there. And there's a difference in the way Paolo used to play to a lot of other players. Now, you used to watch Paolo do what he'd done with a football, but he would bamboozle people standing still right in front of them, and you couldn't get the ball off him, and he'd twist and twine you up, and you had no ability to get the ball off him. Where someone like Ginola would run at you at pace and drop a shoulder and try and defend you, and do you know what I mean? They'd do you by pace, but Paolo would do you by simple, pure ability. And I've never seen anyone do the things that he'd done with a football. Of course, we talk about Payet, But Paolo, for me, just the way that he loved the club and the fondness that he still holds in his heart for the club. For me, it's just, I love the fella. He's my favourite ever player, and do you know what? I can't speak about him without having a smile on my face. And just fantastic. Just love it a bit.
True.
Best player I've ever seen.
No, yeah. I'm the same. He's the greatest West Ham player I've had a privilege to see, because Pyatt was probably technically better, but I've got this sort of pie chart of a West Ham player, and you have to have and it doesn't happen very often where you've got pure technical ability, and then you have the passion and love of the club. It's almost these different parts of the pie. And Pyatt had Di Canio had everything. He was brilliant, but he was crazy, and he was so passionate and loved the club. And all these parts together, to me, makes him my best ever player I've seen play at West Ham, because I just think he just, I'm the same as you. It's like, you smile when you think about him, because he just gives those sort of those vibes, because you think of, I can close my eyes and think of the Arsenal game. I can think of Chelsea goals. I can think
do you know
of,
what,
obviously,
that is so underrated, that goal that on the volley that he took up when his knee and volleyed it. Do you know what? I rate that as probably more technically difficult than the volley against Wimbledon. I know a lot of people agree, but what a goal. And that was screened on a beanback at the Bowling Ground back in the day. And when they used to do the beanbacks, and I remember what a player. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, no, he's brilliant.
Do you know what? He nearly got me the sack once, believe it or not, from my job. I'll just tell you a very quick story. So I pulled a sickie. I used to work for Sainsbury's when I was a student, and I pulled a sickie on the Saturday. I was supposed to be working, and I went up to West Ham v Leicester. And he scored the winner. I think it might have been a 1-0 win, and he put the ball from 15 yards, bottom corner, and run towards the away fans at Filbert Street. It always used to be down the side, the away support towards the goal, and run straight towards me, and I'm going mental, jumping up and down. And it was on Match of the Day, and me governor seen me on telly and nearly give me the marching orders, and luckily I got away with it. But Paolo nearly got me the boot.
I used to hate Filbert Street. It was a horrible place, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't
horrible.
The best.
No, it was like a cage almost. Like they treated you like, I hated Filbert Street. But yeah, no, Paolo's just box office. He's someone you easily would pay your season ticket just to see, because you didn't know what Paolo was going to turn up. And that whole era, Paolo, Sinclair, that whole sort of Rio, that whole sort of group of people was just, for me, exciting. I was
at in Mets for the away leg of the Intertoto Cup when Paolo and Sinclair, I think they both scored in that game.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just to say I've seen us lift the Intertoto Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. But yeah, just to say we've seen Paolo play and like that. And even for the younger generation, they've got to see Paolo play in Mark Noble's testimonial.
Yeah.
I think they even saw glimpses of then, even at his age, how old he got to be now, early 50s, and still been able to turn it on and score like the way he did. I can't talk about him without having a smile on my face and reminiscing about the memories that we've got. What a player.
Yeah, it's true. And on that Intertoto thing, go back and watch the Trevor Sinclair interview, because he tells a great story. I won't spoil it, but he tells a great story about the Intertoto Cup when they were playing away in Croatia. Really still, again, I don't think he should be telling us these stories, but he did. So watch it; it's really fun. It involves John Wonker, a team building shooting exercise, and a live landmine field. That's it. It's the most random story, but it's brilliant. It's so much fun. Lee, man, it's been wonderful chatting to you. I've really, really enjoyed it. Hopefully it's been a bit of nice respite from everything else you've been talking about for the last few hours beforehand.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on, mate. It's really nice to reminisce and talk about the good times and some of the great memories we've all got when we're growing up, and why West Ham means so much to us. So, no, thanks for giving me an opportunity, mate. I loved it.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you. And obviously, thanks everyone for watching, or on YouTube, or listening on Spotify or Apple, whatever his podcast, these things. I should really find out what it's called. But anyway, make sure you subscribe, whatever you're watching it on. Tell everyone about it. And for me and Lee, take care, everyone. Stay safe. That's really important. Come on, you irons, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone.